What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 fades for this week's Sony Open. Reminder that on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, there's going to be a Sony Open live chat on the RickRunGood YouTube channel. You can tell me how bad my fades are, how stupid my sleepers are. We could talk about the weather and ownership and all that good stuff. So join me 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the RickRunGood YouTube channel. Also 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time for the Jock Market Power Hour. I've got a couple of fun things up my sleeve for that. So it should be a lot of fun if you're into stock market DFS. Join us for that. And yeah, these are golfers that I'm not that interested in for this week's Sony Open. I'll be underweight on. It might not be a full fade situation, but I lack confidence in these 5 golfers. Let's get it. Let's start with Marc Leishman. And I think Marc Leishman was a fade last week. If he was not officially in this fades video, I certainly talked about my dislike for Marc Leishman, and I still think there's going to be people who are interested in playing him this week. You know, he's had a good history at Waialae. He's been here 11 times. He's made 11 cuts. He has 3 top 10s. He finished in a tie for third 2 years ago, but I just believe we are pretty far removed from that version of Marc Leishman, and the version that we're getting from him now is one where, you know, since the restart of any golfer in this field, he's basically been the worst player. So of anybody who has as many rounds played as Marc Leishman, which is 42 measured rounds, Sung Kang has lost more strokes per round. Sung Kang has lost 1.97 per round. Marc Leishman has lost 1.46. That is since the restart. It is of all golfers in this field. It is very bad. There is no real signs of that coming back. I guess you could point to the fact that he lost 5 strokes putting last week at the Tournament of Champions as a good sign, I suppose, but that is 4 rounds in the midst of a stretch of 42 really poor ones. So I will continue to fade Marc Leishman until otherwise noted. Next up is Charles Howell III, and when you get to Waialae, everybody wants to play Charles Howell. The guy's made 19 cuts in 19 trips. He has 10 top 10s. I won't lie, it's an unbelievable record, including even last year a T12, the year before that T8. Again, I just don't buy into this long-term sustained course history when I go and look at some of the results that he's had. So Charles Howell III had a T3 at the 3M Open. That was his only top 10 finish since, I'm going back, the Zozo Championship of last year, the 2019 Zozo Championship. So we're talking about, 25 starts and a lot of either missed cuts or just finishes in the 30s, 40s, 50s for Charles Howell III, not really eliciting much confidence in his game. And even if he should be 5% owned or whatever it is, considering his recent form, combine it with course history, I suspect he's going to come in over that. There's just going to be I know that name. Oh, he's played here. He's played well here before. Let me throw him into a lineup or two. And for me, I will not be participating. So I'm out on CH3. Next up is Matt Kuchar. And are you starting to see a trend here? Old guys with good course history that are familiar names, and I don't think it is a coincidence that these types of players, Kuchar, Leishman, Charles Howell III, that they garner a lot of ownership at the Sony Open, because the Sony Open is historically the first full field event of the calendar year, and you usually get a lot of new players, whether they came up from the Corn Ferry, got their card. Now that didn't happen this year, but we still have a lot of new names. You still have a deep field, and you get a lot of new people who are interested in playing daily fantasy golf, and they look at it and say, okay, I know these names. So it's just a combination of things that drives up the ownership of these guys. So Matt Kuchar won this 2 years ago, and there's a real argument to be made that Kuchar, based on the rest of his skill set, not being able to hit it all that far, riding a hot putter for a long time, having to hit his long irons really well, he performed well over expectation for maybe an 18-month period. That victory that he had at the start of 2020 at the Singapore Open. That's really the last time there was any type of contention for, that's not true. I guess he finished second at the Genesis. So that's when it was. Mid-February is the last time we saw Matt Kuchar really contend. And I just don't think that he's going to find the magic this week. You know, his last 6 starts have been pretty ugly. Last 7 starts going back to the BMW Championship. He's missed a couple of cuts. He doesn't have a finish inside the top 30. That's not the Matt Kuchar that I want to invest in, especially at an upgraded price and an upgraded ownership thanks to his history around Waialae. Cameron Smith is next, and I'll tell you what, Cam Smith is not generally the type of player that I like because he's kind of a short game specialist. But the other problem is he won this last year. Now he's getting the boost, right? Cam Smith gets the defending champion boost. He's $9,600 on DraftKings. He's one of the most expensive players on the slate, and I'm sitting here looking at it like, man, it's tough. You know, there was a great performance for him at the Masters, and he was trending in the right direction. Zozo Championship, he played okay at the Tournament of Champions. But when you combine the fact that he gets an increase from just his status as the winner of last year, and also, you know, with his style of play, this is true about a lot of short game specialists, is they have such a narrow path to victory. You know, if he's not gaining 4 or 5 strokes on the putting greens, he's going to have a hard time contending. That's what we've seen over the years. Now, he can do that more than most of his peers, but it just makes the path to victory or the path to success for him much more narrow, inflated price. What we saw from Cam Smith, you know, a testament to him, what he did at the Masters, what he did at the Zozo. We don't have to pay the inflated price because he can play well at a lot of different places. He can contend and finish in the top 10 almost anywhere. We don't need to pay it this week. So Cam Smith not making my core, or probably not going to get a bet for me this week. And then finally, it's Hideki Matsuyama. And I kind of throw my hands up here. I'm usually the first to forgive and forget a guy that absolutely was one of the most popular golfers on the slate last week, a guy who was essentially the most popular one and done pick, finishes in a tie for last. I'm usually ready to bounce back and say, let's go. A lot of jaded owners who are going to forget about him. Let's get back on Hideki. And I don't feel that way this week. And the reason for that is, of course, the putter. And it was so bad at the Tournament of Champions. He lost 9.7 strokes on the putting surfaces. That is the second worst event for him that I have in my entire database. It was 3 shots worse than the next worst putter, Mackenzie Hughes. I mean, he just lapped the field in terms of poor putting. And it might be one of those things where he's so far gone. Like, you know, it's one thing to bounce back the next round or have 2 bad rounds and figure it out. If you are that far off, it might take more than just a couple of days of practice to kind of find the feel and find everything and get it back to even your standard, which is already pretty bad. So Hideki, I have high hopes in 2021. If those are going to come through, he's going to need to figure out how to not be a -9 putter and get closer to even -2 would be great for Hideki. So I'm throwing my hands up. I'm not going to roster Hideki in any meaningful way. I'll be very interested on Wednesday. What we see is if we see what the ownership is and he's like 2%, 3%, I might have a different story to tell. But for now, especially where I think he's going to come in, maybe 10% owned, I'm still worried and I still am in wait and see mode. There you go. My top 5 fades for this week's Sony Open. Join me Wednesday, 2 live chats on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel. Best of luck this week. Tweet me. Tell me what you think. @RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Later.